Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Ashley Lee, and you have joined us today live and pre-recorded for Hidden Superpowers. I'm so excited to begin season 3. And our first episode of season 3 is Discover Your Hidden Superpowers. It's so exciting. I'm so excited to speak on this topic. It's just my dream come true to be able to share with you all. What are superpowers, right? Well, we learn about them a lot inside movies and TV shows and other things. But really what I call it of the old days would be our psychic powers, right? Our innate ability to really experience the world in an extrasensory way. And then the superpower part is expressing that out to the world. So let's dive in and talk about this for just a few moments about what that means to express our superpowers. Well, this illustration I have here is a crystal brain, and I want to share with you that that's a representative of our whole physical body. That it's an attribute that is not only our brain and nervous system, but also our heart, our physical body, our mental body, our spiritual body, our emotional body. This brain is going to represent some ideas and concepts that I so dearly am here to share with you in such inspirational ways. And so in this idea, this crystal skull, this crystal brain, is from the left-hand side on your screen is a white light that shines through. That bright white light represents information, omniscient from the universe, information that comes into your brain and nervous system, comes into our physical bodies. It is the way that we perceive the world around us. So for example, it's our intuition, how we intuit the world around us, the information that we bring in, and then that rainbow, that spectrum of that prism light coming through the crystal skull, coming out through the front, is a representation of our superpowers, our ability to express the unique ways that we come into the world to express our innate gifts to ourselves, to each other, and to the world at large. So when we talk about the ability to perceive and bring in intuitive ideas, is we really dive into the ability to experience other perspectives. So if we live a little myopic and we only see things in one way, it diminishes our intuition. It diminishes our ability to bring in extrasensory information. So for example, like having the birds talk to us, or the grass and the trees in this picture. And so the round crystal ball is an example of it refracted light, right? So it turned it upside down. It's ways in which we can open our mind, open our experiences to perceive things from other perspectives. That improves our ability to intuit. So let's talk about the different types of hidden superpowers we could have and experience. One is, does your vision see the many facets of life? So what do I mean by that? And I brought this diamond in as an idea because I'm not really sure how many facets. It depends on how it's cut, right? How many facets a diamond has. But really our vision, our ability to, we used to call it clairvoyant, right? I like to call it my higher vision. So my higher vision can be expressed in so many ways. I can see auras around people. So I can see energies around people. What does that mean? Well, I can see mental energies. I can see emotional energies. I can see spiritual energies around someone's body, physical body, around trees, around lots of living organic animal, reptile, any kind of being that's running around breathing and alive. I can see their energy. Even inanimate objects have a little bit of energy expression that is visible sometimes to my vision. When I see it in this vision, I learn how to bring in that information, process that information, and then share that information with the world if it's applicable, if it's needed, if it's supportive, if it's helpful and or healing. And so we can see, though, in different ways. We can see with our physical eyes, but we can also see with our mind's eye. And I want to really expand this idea of vision. What if we could see with our heart's eye, right? We could see through our heart-centeredness, our divine true nature, which is love. What if we could see through those facets of life in order to receive information around our world, to express how our vision or our extrasensory vision is helpful? That's one example of our intuitive and abilities to express this intuitiveness. So next, are you empathically sensitive to emotions? Right? This could be, I sense that every human on the planet is born empathic. We come hardwired to express emotions, to express and take in and feel emotions. Do you see how in this case the dad is experiencing his child's emotions and giving him comfort? He's like absorbing his child's emotions, breathing them out, right? And allowing his child to express his sense of, the child's sense of sadness, for example, or some sort of pain and suffering he might have experienced. So many times when we're empathic, we have the ability not only to feel our feelings physically in our body, but also we can feel the feelings of others around us. Even from a distance, remotely, we can feel other people's emotions. And so how we bring that in and then how we express empathically supports us, right? So we can express, as this dad is, with compassion, right? He's not having any judgments about how his son is experiencing life. He's taking in that moment, allowing him to express and comforting him to allow those emotions to move through his body, right? Those are ways that empathic superpower people can share their gifts with the world. Let's talk about another gift that we could have, another superpower, which I call, right, our higher hearing, right? Can you hear what others do not? Many children, young children like this cute one, can hear things that maybe others can't. I think in the older days, we called it clairaudient. But I like the idea really of calling it higher hearing, our higher ability to listen and understand what the world's sharing with us with sound frequencies. Clairaudience also has this unique ability that goes beyond, right, the opportunity to hear just in sound waves. We can hear things in our mind where the trees are talking to us, the birds are talking to us, right? Maybe in this picture, his mom is far away, and yet he can still hear her even from a distance that wouldn't normally be able to be heard. And so where does this idea of having higher hearing help us express superpowers in the world? Well, if we could hear someone's thoughts, for example, being telepathic, and they weren't so positive, for example, and we had a way to reframe them and help the person connect to what they were thinking. What if that could be very therapeutic, supportive, and honorific of where they're being in the moment? All of those have opportunities to share superpowers with the world, our superpowers. Now let's get into some of the things that affect our ability to express our superpowers. So how do we begin to explore superpowers? Well, I first invite lots of people that are highly intuitive, highly psychic, highly multisensory to express their superpowers, to begin to look at their shadow states, their challenging states of consciousness. They're, in simple terms, really not so good thinking, not so good feeling, and maybe not so good believing. When we have challenges and limits with these, it limits our ability to intuit and then to also express our superpowers in the world. So the way that we can do that is a very simple process, which is a 5-step process that we call the conflict resolution process. So we can have an example of why it's challenging, which we're going to talk about, why it's challenging to intuit in the first place, or while it's challenging to express our superpower. So in this idea, what we want to do is we want to acknowledge the conflict we're having with ourselves and or others. Then we want to release judgments about those conflicts, my own judgments about them and myself and others. Next, we want to forgive the judgments. It's not about forgiving the behavior so much. The behavior may not be any good, right? We can say, you know, that's no good. But what we really want to do is we want to reframe and forgive those judgments, because it's those judgments are what's mitigating or creating, right? The behavior, the action, the attitude, the mood, our temperaments, all of that. So we want to forgive the judgments of ourselves, and we want to forgive the judgments of that which we perceive as creating the conflict. Then we want to proclaim sovereignty. And this one's kind of funny, right? It really, what it means is I'm complete. I am no compete. I have no more judgments about this. Even if it still pops up in my environment, I'm going to start to proclaim with an intention that I am complete with this conflict, so that that actually jumps and moves and transcends us from this problem that keeps coming back. And then we want to shine our truth, shine our innate true nature of love. When we conflict resolve, we start to move through things very rapidly, and we start to open our superpowers. It is a sense of cleansing who we are. We purify those negative thoughts, feelings, and limiting beliefs out by conflict resolving them inside ourselves. When we're clean of those, or as clean as we can be, we begin to express more clearly, more accurately, and more supportively to ourselves and all others. So, when do superpowers become distorted? So we got our same brain here, right? And information is coming in and we're intuiting it. But if we have a belief, for example, this consciousness challenge, I'll share more in a few moments. This consciousness challenge is excuse consciousness, right? So when we have excuse consciousness and we go to express our superpowers, it's going to distort that rainbow, that visual spectral field, that how we express physically in our world or relationally in our world. It distorts everything. So we want to help clean up our distortions. So what consciousness challenges first impede the intuition, right? Impede clear intuition, our clarity of getting the information that we need to support expressing our superpowers. So what does that mean? So this one is really awesome. So right here, as the white light's coming in, that's our intuition. It's coming into our being. It's coming into our body, into our heart, into our mind, but it's impacting it, right? We call those filters. Those are beliefs or misunderstandings. And this consciousness challenge is no rights to have needs consciousness, as an example. right? And when we have no rights to have needs, what happens is in the realm of intuiting something, what if we could say, you know, I can't intuit this. I can't take time to tune in. I can't take time to do all this because I have to get this done right now. I have to get this done and this done and this done. And my to-do list is so huge. I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time to sit down. I don't have time to tune in. What if that's just a consciousness challenge called time consciousness, where I look at, what if time is an asset and not a liability? And so when time becomes an asset, what if in just a breath, we can clear ourselves, recognize I'm running inside of my head, preventing intuition coming in, and I'm running, I have no right to have my needs met. And so if I have that, I'm going to definitely obscure my intuition. It's not going to be clear. So this is one example of a consciousness challenge that impedes our ability to intuit well, quickly, saliently, clearly, right? So those messages come in clearly to us. So what we want to do again is come back to this idea of conflict resolution process. We want to acknowledge, like, come right up to it. Instead of saying, I have no rights to it, I have no rights to have needs, or my needs will never get met. And if I believe that and I continue to say that and be that out in the world, I will never have great intuition. It will always be challenged. And so we have an opportunity to take a moment, right? This may be later in the day if you're too busy. But later in the day, make a commitment to yourself to release your consciousness challenges through the conflict resolution process so that you can have clear intuition in a minute, in a second. So what we can do in this example is we can acknowledge that I have a conflict that I can't get my needs met. And for sure, that's a conflict. So I'm going to release judgments about that. I have judgments. I can't get my needs met. I don't have enough time. There's too much to do. I'm overwhelmed. All of those, release those judgments. They still may be true, but what if we don't have to have them in our mind as something that we have to validate that it's true? Because how do we change truth, which is a perspective? How do we change that in our lives? We change that in our lives by saying, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to release my judgments about it. Why? Because judgments gave me a wall. It's called a no right to have needs met. And I cannot see beyond this wall. So my vision, my higher vision goes out completely. My higher hearing goes out completely. I'm not hearing nothing except I'm not good enough. I can't get it done. There's not enough time. We're good at that self-talk, aren't we? Right? And I don't have time to feel somebody's feelings. I'm already feeling my feelings and they don't feel good, right? And then we can kind of laugh at ourselves because we are funny humans. And so what if we take this opportunity to release all those kinds of judgments so that we can see beyond this wall we've created that we can't get our needs met? Then we want to forgive those judgments. Okay, I forgive myself for having judgments. It really was overwhelming. It really was over the top. And so when I forgive myself, what does that do? That brings in compassion. I have compassion for myself. And compassion, true compassion, is the absence of judgments. I'm not feeling sorry for myself or excusing myself. I'm acknowledging that I've had some challenging experiences. But if I let go of all that challenge, that rhetoric in my mind and that push and got to make it happen, I take a second to breathe deeply and really move through this so that, now I can see more clearly. Now I can hear more clearly. And quite frankly, I can actually acknowledge my emotions now instead of trying to suppress them. I'm moving through this problem much quicker, right? I want to proclaim sovereignty to say, I'm complete in my life with never getting my needs met. I'm complete with seeing that window, right? And then I want to shine my truth. I do have enough time. I can get my needs met. Therefore, my intuition is going to come in very clearly. How are we expressing our superpowers? Right? So we got clear with how we have consciousness challenges that are impeding our intuition, bringing that white light in. But now, how do we express those superpowers? Let's talk a little bit more about this. I want to now move into the idea of when we go to bring in clear intuition and we process that information really well, and we support the world either with ourselves, right? We support ourselves with our own intuition, or we support others with our intuition, expressing our superpowers. But what impedes our ability to express the superpowers? Well, we talked about this before, right? With that thing inside of our middle of our brain called excuse consciousness. Now, in this pictograph or meme, what we're talking about is like how the dog took our homework. But I mean, from a different perspective. What about the perspective of I give myself excuses? Like, I don't have enough time. I can't make this happen. This isn't going to work. I can't do it. It never turns out right. All of those things are called excuses. Those excuses impede. How about this one, even from the perspective of expressing our superpowers? I can't express my superpowers because everyone will think I'm super weird. Everyone won't understand me. They think I'm out to lunch or in that next stratosphere. I definitely resemble that consciousness. Okay, so when we say that, I can't belong because no one else is thinking like I'm thinking or being like I'm being. But what if we have the opportunity to let go of all these excuses and say to ourselves, I open to understanding how to express my superpower in this environment where maybe people won't understand me, where maybe people will want to see what I'm really about authentically. And maybe I can say this genuinely, supportively, authentically, honestly, in such a way that's super supportive for their listening so they can understand me more clearly. Right? Isn't that awesome? So we can change the way in which we express our superpowers so we don't end up like this. And the way that we express is so distorted because we have excuses. One excuse could be that they're going to respond terribly to my superpower. They're going to think I'm super weird, or they're going to be jealous, or they're going to be whatever. And when we do that, our expression of our superpower does truly come out distorted. So let's shift that. And we shift that again through conflict resolution. I acknowledge I have a conflict with excuse consciousness. I release my judgments about my excuses. I forgive my judgments that I ever made excuses because they were true. People were responding that way. But what if I can change the way that I speak and I deliver, right? I express. When I change the way that I express in front of different people, they'll receive it maybe more openly, more compassionately, and more lovingly. When I proclaim sovereignty, that I am no longer going to use excuse consciousness as a reason not to express my superpower. Isn't that a good one? Then let's shine our truth and express it, right? Whatever it is in the situation, because you may have, if you intuit information from extrasensory perception that maybe someone else couldn't in the environment, how quick is your problem solving? I mean, 3D, boots on the ground, grounded information, you're giving it to them to support everyone in the environment to problem solve. That's valuable. Your superpowers are valuable. They're valuable to our world. They're valuable to your heart, to our spirit, to each other's, to share our innate gifts that we bring forward to the world. Now I want to move into the fun part. This is what I like. When we clear all of those consciousness challenges through conflict resolution, now we can start looking at the really fun stuff. I have a colleague and a friend who works with archetypes, right? And she shares that you can put in an archetype. I call it like an SD card. I can be an artist for the day. I can be an alchemist for the day. I like that one a lot. I use alchemy a lot, right? So in those ideas, that's an empowerment is an archetype. And empowerment is a belief system that is true to your nature. And when you embody that, when you vibrate to that, when your frequency emits that to the world, it truly enhances your superpowers. It enhances the expression of your superpowers. So I want to share with you through our book and through our website called Leap of Consciousness. We have a free ebook that you can download that has 21 different ideas. We have a list. I think our list is growing every day. It's like 240 different empowerments that you can literally embody to further express your superpower. So this is one that we picked, which was kind of interesting because my higher guidance picked this one out of our book. It was number 6. We have 21 superpower, empowered states of being to augment your superpower. So when I stand inside of, let's say I'm in a volatile environment, I'm in a high carry environment, maybe like the intensive care unit. And when I run around with the embodiment of conflict resolution consciousness, I'm constantly, I acknowledge I have this conflict. I acknowledge I have that conflict. I acknowledge I have this. I acknowledge children are suffering or in pain. I acknowledge parents are in pain because they don't want to see their child in the ICU. See, those are ways in which when we start to emit this and conflict resolve in our environment, our whole being becomes peaceful, pleasant, valuable, charismatic, loving, compassionate. And when we start exuding all of that, then all of us, people want to hear about our superpowers. People want to understand what it is we're bringing forward into the world. So I want to support you. There's many others that we can stand in. We can stand in peace consciousness. We can stand in abundance consciousness. Sometimes when people are really unaware of their environment or what's going on, we can stand in awareness consciousness. And then people you watch right in front of you, they start becoming more aware. They start intuiting themselves. And they start expressing their gifts and their superpowers right in front of you. And it is amazing to witness. When we embody this conflict resolution process, maybe not only does our intuition come in clear, not only does our superpower express really well, but what if our superpower just expands, right, into multiple rays of superpowers all at the same time? That's what we're talking about here, is adding clarity of our innate higher gifts and opportunities. What do you sense as your unique superpower? Right? I shared about 3 basic ones. Our ability to have vision, extrasensory vision, extrasensory hearing, and extrasensory feeling. But there's many more that we're going to talk about in the next 11 episodes that I'm so excited to take a deep dive into each one of these superpowers. I invite you to take a few moments to dip into your world and how do you perceive the world in an extrasensory way? And when you perceive that, then how do you express those unique perceptions to the world? Because those are your superpowers. My colleague and I, Annie Kalakar, have created a special offer for you. And the reason why we wanted to make this special offer was because we have created many through our website called Access Infinite Knowledge. And in this website, we have remote energy transmissions. They're weekly on Wednesday nights. This one's at 10 p.m. your time zone. It's time zone indifferent. It's a specialized superpower technology that we developed. But for 30 minutes, you can tune in, you can turn on, and we support you with very specific ways to help clear your energy, open your energy, help you become aware of these consciousness challenges that you may experience so that you're easily able to resolve them, move them out, and then very clearly express your superpowers. We designed this program really specifically for this TV show so that everyone would have concurrent support while they're learning about their superpowers. They have this dedicated 30 minutes a week after the TV show on Tuesdays at noon Pacific time in the US. And then on Wednesday evenings at 10 p.m. your time, you have an opportunity to really explore and it's not a guided meditation, it's your higher guidance guiding it. We're delivering it to you in real time, this energy package that helps you open this up. And this energy package is very specific, very supportive for each one. Each person gets their own unique energy packet that supports them in opening their superpower. We wanted to give a special offering to those who watch this TV show so that it's augmentative and supportive in this very deep way. We invite you to come and explore it and to take a look at our website to help you create and develop and expand your superpower. I'm Ashley Lee, and I'm so excited to be here with you to share your innate gifts with the world.